Hey everybody, it's that time again. It's time for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, and it's episode the number Big 50, the Halloween edition. So Willie and I are decked out in our Halloween shirts for you here. My name is Deborah, and I am coming to you from here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I've also am going to pick up trying to learn to tat and to learn to do punch needle embroidery apparently. I am also a professor of physics and astronomy at a local university where I teach classes to physics majors, also to general education majors. I do outreach through our planetarium with volunteer planetarium shows. I do service learning courses, and I'm an advocate for women in STEM. And last but not least, I am a farmer. I am a third generation family farmer living here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I raise grass-fed beef cattle, I raise horses, I have a flock of heritage poultry, I have show quality rabbits, and I have a retirement herd of miniature horses, miniature donkeys, a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost, and Princess Penny, the very portly potbelly pig. Oh gosh. I also, as you can tell from my sweet little furry co-host Willie here in his dapper orange Halloween shirt, I am fur kid mom to 13 dogs, 7 indoor cats, and an undetermined number of outside barn cats. And the rustling around you hear in here is because we have some extra visitors today. We have Wally. Where you at, Wally? He's right there. And we have Baxter. They would not be denied access to the room when I came in here to do this, so here they are. So if any or of all of that sounds interesting to you, I wish you'd come on along and join me on episode number 50, the Halloween edition of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, if you're looking for us on social media, our farm Facebook page is the same as my YouTube channel name. It's Buckthorn Farms, and I post links about farm-related stuff. I'll write blog posts and just pictures of what's going on here on the farm. You can also find me on Instagram and on Ravelry as Doc Firewoman, and there is a Ravelry group for the podcast, which is Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, where you can find out about our make-alongs and any giveaways that might be going on, or just general chit-chat of what's happening. And you can also find me on Twitter, but I will say that I am a fairly socially liberal Democrat, and if that kind of stuff gives you heartburn, probably best not to follow me on Twitter, because that's where I really say what I think very abundantly. Anyway, so other than that, though, you can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram. Instagram is probably where I am the most active in terms of the podcast and of my crafting content. I will talk to you a little bit about some of the make-alongs that we're going on. We got 2 more months to go on our year-long make-along frenzy here. We have the I Like Big Shawls and I Cannot Lie make-along, where you need to knit a shawl that by the pattern is 1,200 yards plus. I am co-hosting that with Vanessa from the A Historian Knits podcast, so you can double dip your entries there. It does need to be a knitted shawl, however. Crocheted shawls, we didn't do those this time. We did knitted shawls. So that's really the only stipulation there. Also, Creature Feature, which is an Amigurumi make-along, which has been going on all year, or we're in the 4th quarter, where we are talking about magical and mythical beasts. So dragons, unicorns, that sort of stuff. And it doesn't have to follow the theme, but you get a double entry if you follow the theme. And you can also go over and enter on the A Crocheting Whovian, Laura, the A Crocheting Whovian podcast group as well. Also, we have Kit or Get Her Done, where we're working on using up kits so that we can get more, right? So we can get more kits. And so any kit, basket making kit, jewelry making kit, knitting, crocheting, doesn't matter. Lots of opportunities there. And then we have the Never Have I Ever make along, where it's something you've not done before, new skill, new craft, new technique, new something. So, yeah, and then last but not least is the Farmer's Almanac. I'm going to put the November post up, I hope, tomorrow. This week has been all messed up, and I'll talk to you about that in just a little bit, but I'm going to put the November post up, I hope, tomorrow. And that is a monthly, fairly extensive post about different things that have happened in the month. And you can draw inspiration from that post and enter things. All of these have a physical prize at year end for the finished objects. And I think I've got FO threads open for everything, but if I don't, I will make sure that I have FO threads open for all of those, because there will be physical prizes, and probably on the next podcast I will show what I've got in terms of prizes if you would like to get your stuff in. We did start a new make-along on October 15th for the It's My Party, So I'll Pie If I Want To shawl pattern by Logan. And Logan and Jose, congratulations. They just got married last weekend, so yay for them. So that shawl make-along goes from October 15th to March 15th, which is Pie Day. So, yeah, so that one's also going on as well. Just a tease for next year's make-alongs. I'm probably going to do a monthly one like the Farmer's Almanac, but it's going to be science sprinkles. And so each month I'll post some topic, tell you a little bit about some science topic, tell you a little bit about some scientists, try to educate you a little bit, I guess, share my knowledge. I'm also going to do one, and I can't remember the cute name I had for it, but it's going to be Using What You Got. So it's using yarn that you had in stash, using a pattern that you already had in your Ravelry library prior to January 1. Okay, so using up what you've got. I'm going to do Creature Feature again. The topics will be different. The quarterly themes will be different this time, so I'll change those up. I'm thinking about having a Monster Mash one and having Flights of Fancy, so anything with wings, bats, birds, dragons, fairies, whatever. I'm thinking I may have a WTF one for some of those weird amigurumis out there, like the ceiling fan, which Laura gifted me a pattern for a ceiling fan. You know, so all those unusual things. And I haven't decided on the fourth one yet, but I also think I'm going to have a special category called Flower Power, because I want to learn to do the African flower animals. And so if you do an African flower animal, I'm going to have a special entry somewhere or another, I think, for those, because that'll maybe kind of motivate me to learn to do those. But we'll talk more about those closer to time. And I'm also thinking about having like a needle along where it's open to any needle based craft, so embroidery, cross stitch, punch needle, that sort of thing. Oh, there goes my neighbor with the mowing machine that he bought from me. I guess he was mowing over there. Anyway, so we'll see. I'm kind of firming those up for next year. So come and join us and we'll have a good time. I've enjoyed chit-chatting with people and seeing what all people do. It'll be kind of the same format where the intermittent prizes will be patterns most likely. And then we'll do a physical prize at the end of the year. Now, don't forget, too, I'm doing a pattern swap for the holidays. So you need to sign up for that by November 15th if you want to do a pattern swap. I figured that would just be easier than doing a physical swap. The rule is you need to have a wish list on Ravelry, and should be a pattern that's between $5 and $10 is the expectation. If you want to do more than that, that's fine. But if you want to do the pattern swap, there is a thread open. Just go on there and say, hey, I'm in for the pattern swap, and we'll match everybody up by December 1st or something. Let's put the entry deadline December 1st. But get on over there if you haven't entered, and then I'll match everybody up December 1st, and y'all can swap. Okay? All right, so that's all of our good social media, good time, make-along stuff for today. So now we're going to move on and talk about finished objects after I get some caffeine in me. Okay, I have a few finished objects to show you today. I am still working on hats to donate to our Bundle Up for Bears or UCA Warming Tree project. So I've made a fourth one, but I don't know where I've stuck it, so we'll go with these three. I made some more beanies for that, so I'm just trying to use up some of the acrylic. This is some of that Line brand homespun that my friend Kathy, who's the inventory person, found on a really good price. And then I made another pink one. and I've got a couple more started. I want to try, I think I'm up to, this will make 7 that I've got, and I've got my 8th one started. So I want to try to donate 10, and then my friend Carol gave me a Ziploc bag full of ones that she had made as well. So that's coming up. So I want to, I guess whatever I've got done by the end of the weekend is what I'll donate. So I've got these ones made. That one's kind of pretty with the different variations. I don't know what that colorway name is because it didn't have a ball band or a tag on it anymore, but it is that homespun brand. So, and then this is just some scrap pink I had left over from another project. So got those. Then my friend Maria, who I have made friends with through this podcast, she is always an inspiration to me. She makes some of the most beautiful stuff, and I had been thinking about doing this anyway when I finished my Gothic Angel, because the yarn from that shawl looked just very fall-like to me. It was very autumnal in its color. So I thought, I want to make a leaf. And then, by golly, what did she do? She crocheted a leaf doily. So I found the pattern that she used, and I have made myself a leaf. So this is just a free pattern on Ravelry. I can't remember who it's by, but I'll put it in the show notes. But this is just Kimmery Knickknacks. This is the leftovers from my Gothic Angel. The colorway is called West Texas Sunset. And I think it's just really pretty. I did make a mistake. The bottom, I miscounted. So the bottom is not supposed to have this bump on it. It's just supposed to be plain. But I made a mistake and I just kind of went with it. But anyway, so there you go. And I was talking with somebody, I think Nancy, she's a friend of mine that I've made through Instagram. And she was talking about wanted to make this, but she wasn't sure her crochet skills were good enough. And I said, well, it's just double crochets and chains. If you can do that, you can make this. So that's the nice thing about doilies, is they're a really good practice, even though they're tiny, because you're kind of doing the same thing multiple times. So you can see there how that's put together like that. Okay, then I also have a sort of finished object. I have finished the knitting portion of my Malibu shawl. This is a pattern by Jody Brown from the Grocery Girls, and it is a DK weight shawl. It is knit on very large needles, so it's a fairly loose fabric, and it just flies. I mean, it's a rip, snorting, flying fast. Baxter, please don't knock that stuff down, son. He's about to attempt to get on the pile of doom over here. We're going to see how this goes. But anyway, so it's a nice quick DK shawl. This is still damp. I washed it. I finished it last night and bound it off. And I'm blocking it, but I'm having to block inside because it's like 35 or 38 outside today. I guess it could freeze dry. But anyway, so the colors are this teal is just a commercial. I think it's called Creative, and it's Crea like baby alpaca. Then the middle color is Won't Be Erased by Shipwrecked Sheep. And that is, I believe that is BFL or Polwarth. It may be Polwarth. And that donated to the Trevor Project. And then the dark color is Texas Tea by Coop Dyeworks. That I got at East Texas Fiber Festival. So what I have left to do now that I'm done with the knitting portion is this bound off edge has fringe. And I do like fringe. I'm going to add it to it. And I'm watching him because I'm like, we're fixing to see how rotationally stable that is. But anyway, so I am going to add the fringe, but I'm waiting on it to dry. It's still damp. So those are my finished objects for this week. And so we're going to move on now and talk about works in progress. Okay, Willie wanted to be back up here for this part, I guess. Okay, so my first work in progress is just, I'm working on another beanie. It's just a basic recipe for a bulky weight hat, double crochets mainly, and I am knitting it out of some more, I think this is called Barks. This is some more Line Brand homespun. So I'm just going to knit, or crochet, excuse me, a quick beanie out of that. I just started this one last night right before I went to bed and did the increase parts, and now I'm just going to go around and around and around, and I think I can get at least 2 beanies out of that skein of homespun. Okay, now the other works in progress I have are ones that, a couple of them you've seen and then a new one. I frogged both pairs of socks I was working on. Kirsty's undercurrent socks, and then the Fernway socks by Knitting Expat. The Fernway socks were just knitting up too big, and that's my own fault. And with Kirsty's socks, I had made some mistakes. Her pattern is really beautifully textured, but because I'm left-handed, I made the mistake of trying to read the chart from right to left, and I need to read it like it's normally written on the page, left to right. And so it just wasn't looking as pretty as her texture until I switched about 4 repeats in, and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. And then you could see where I switched. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna take this out and start over. So I frogged those, and I will restart those. I'm gonna wait until I finish this hat that I'm working on. But so I've got those frogged. I frogged my Bowie shawl with Moontower Dyeworks because I did something wrong. I have not ever had to pick up wraps. All my short rows have been German short rows, and so I messed up on that, and it didn't look right. So I wasn't very far in anyway. So I went ahead and frogged that. I'm going to restart that. Now, if you're going to sit up here, you're going to have to be still. Okay? Can you be still? Okay. All right. So that's what's gone to the frog pond, but in my Missy from Minnesota bag from Vanessa, gave me this as a gift for my birthday. I am working on the Curly Horse hat. Okay, the Curly Horse hat, and this is by Cynthia Craft from Sabito Farms, and I know they were just at Rhinebeck. I love this hat pattern, and I'm really enjoying knitting it. I'm knitting it out of just some Cloudborn dark gray and then some rainbow yarn that I dyed in a dyeing class, and I haven't worked on it this week at all because I got in the well, I'll tell you a story about why I haven't done much with it this week. It's not hard, it's just you do have to pay some attention to it. But if you remember the last time I showed it to you, it was down here. So I've put about probably 10, 12, 15 rows on it. You can start to see the tails of the horses, and then the little sun disc thing sort of there, and then there's the sun disc, and then that swoopy thing is the horse's tail and their back legs. So I'm working my way up on that. I love that dark gray setting off that rainbow color. I think that's going to be really pretty. Oops, let me get that out of the way where you can see something maybe. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so there's that. I think it's going to be really pretty. I've just got to get back on it. I may work on that some tonight since the Malibu is still drying. Oops, I bumped that. Put that back. Since the Malibu is still drying, I may work on this tonight. I don't anticipate having a lot of trick-or-treaters because most of the kids that live out here have grown up. Plus, everybody knows that I've been sick this week. And we'll talk about that when we get to the science segment, because it's going to be one of my science sprinkles this week. But anyway, so that's the Curly Horse hat by Sabito Farms. Then I am back on my Changes shawl by Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat. That is in my April 9 Designs bag here with the alpacas on it. I picked this up last night after I finished the Malibu, and went, oh, this is knitting much quicker now. I don't know why. My brain is just is in the mode of wanting to work on it. So I just very quickly put about 10 rows on it. I got through another repeat. Okay, I'm a pretty loose knitter, as you can tell, but that's okay. This is a very large shawl. Okay, I'm working on the middle section, and it's made in, the way that it's made is you never have a huge number of stitches on your needles at one time, which is nice after doing that 700 stitch bind off. That's what the finished product looks like there, so you can see. Okay, so I've done 5 repeats of the middle section. I've got 8 more to go, and then I'll be ready to start picking up and start doing the color on the sides. So we got that done. Then I fell off the rails on the School of Magic Amigurumi thing. I just didn't get done. I'm still working on it, but this is how far I am on my hat. I am almost ready to start turning for the brim. I've got my wire so that I can start making my brim a little sturdy. It is actually going to fit me. You can see there. Once I put the brim on it, it'll fit, I think. I've got about 7 more rounds to go, and then I'll start flattening the brim out. So that is by Irene Strange, and I'm sorry, I forgot her partner's name here, Irali Designs. And we've gotten all the parts to it now, so it's really cute little bits and pieces to it. I just got bogged down on making the hat. So anyway, I'm going to get that finished, and I'll keep working on it. I think once I get the hat done, the little bits and pieces will not take that long, so that's been a lot of fun. But that's the Amigurumi School of Magic. Then I decided that since today is Halloween or Samhain, depending on what you want to call it, in my Home Row Yarn Co. bag that Vanessa also got me last year for Christmas, if you recall, I joined the Celtic Ear Shawl Club last year, and the first installment last year was the Samhain Shawl, which was also representative of the Day of the Dead, and so it was the Calaveras Shawl. And in the club, you got all of the yarn, the beads, and everything to make the shawl. And I just never began any of them. I thought, well, I'm going to get them all, and then I'll start them. So this morning, before I went to town to run a couple of errands, I sat down and picked this up, and I got through the first little section. And it starts out immediately with beading. So you're beading the spine of the shawl all the way up. Okay, so we've got that going on. And I'm just getting ready to start the Lacy Repeats. It's a 1 skein shawl. This is from Woolly Wonka Fiber Company. This is their Nimue sock base, and I believe that colorway is called Candy Apple or something like that. Spiced Apple. Okay, so, and then we got the beads, and we got these beautiful stitch markers and progress keepers as part of the club membership. So I'm very excited to work on that. So some people do Christmas Eve cast on. I do Halloween cast on. You know, that's what witches do, I guess. Anyway, so, yeah, so those are my fibery works in progress. I do have my cross stitch that I've worked on just a little bit that I will show you my progress on. One of my little cross stitch projects. I am on backstitch island, as they say. So I am backstitching for the animals on this Noah's Ark. So I've added in the lion and the caribou or reindeer, and I'm working on the backstitching here. And then I'll go on up and do oh, let me fix that needle before I lose it. And go on up and do the umbrella and the giraffe, and then the wording. So that has been, I've been working on that since 1999 when my mother was in the hospital for heart surgery. So that's what I'm going to finish up on that. So, yeah, so I think that's all of my works in progress. So we're going to move on now and talk about future crafting. Okay, so for future crafting, I'm just going to show a couple of things. I was going to start my water dragon by Crafty Intentions. If you remember, I purchased this pattern, got all 4 of her elemental dragons. And I'm like, ooh, I want to start that. And so I have, I mean, let's be honest, I have a boatload of acrylic yarn. I have a lot. Couldn't find the color I wanted for nothing. Looked through all this yarn. I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that. You know, I'm sure you've done that too. So I decided to go get some different colors. So these are the colors I'm going to use for my water dragon. Okay, so I've got this navy and this really funky, this reminds me of the ocean. So I'm going to use those 2 for my water dragon. So I want to try to start that this evening. I'd like to finish that hat first, but I've kind of decided that I want to work on what I want to work on. And I'm not going to apologize if I change gears 4,000 times. So, yeah, so we'll see what I end up doing tonight. I know that, like I said, I probably won't have a lot of trick-or-treaters. But my friend Sonia was saying I should watch Room on the Broom. She said the person in Room on the Broom reminded me of her. I think I have seen that, or I've seen something about that, but I want to watch that tonight, so I'll probably sit down and watch that this evening. But that's one thing that I'm going to work on. Then I've still got my little, I'll grab it right here if I can reach it without knocking everything over. I've still got my little embroidery thing that I've showed several times. It's a little wall hanging, and it's got all the fabrics and stuff. And then you embroider the little saying on it. So let me see if I can find the picture here again. And there it is. It's a little Halloween witch. And she says, I've lost my, laid my glasses down somewhere, but it says, come play with us on Halloween. We're not as scary as we seem. And it's got her and her kitty cat and everything there. So I want to try to make that because I think that's really sweet and adorable. And I've just had this for long enough that it needs to get made. I need to look, I've got to trace the pattern onto the fabric that needs to be embroidered, so I'm going to have to tape it up to the window or something like that to be able to do that. So, but anyway, it gives you all the fabrics. I bought this at a quilt show down in Hot Springs. I went to a quilt show with one of my friends in 2012. So this one's not as old as some of the stuff that I have. But anyway, so I want to get that made up. I sat down the other night and watched a class on crewel embroidery on Blueprint, but it's the same basic stitches as you use in regular embroidery. You just use yarn instead of floss. So I was watching that, and that kind of got me in the mood to want to try to do some of that. And then I've decided that, of course, I want to learn to punch needle embroidery. And I'll tell you why I decided this. I found a really cute pattern on Etsy that was just a really cute Halloween adorable pattern. It was punch needle. And then I got the email sale paper from the cross stitch store here in Conway that my colleague's wife owns. And they had a punch needle thing on super duper sale in there. And I thought, it's a sign I need to punch needle. So I bought this little kit. It's a little cactus creature, and bought the punch needle. So it's got different, this one's got different size needles, and it's got a little floss holder up there. Do I need another craft? Why, no. I don't, but who cares? I'm gonna try, might as well try. Never have I ever, right? So those are my future craftings for this week. So now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about acquisitions. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is a very wondrous gift that I received from Linnea. And I hope I'm saying your name right. I would say Linnea. I don't think it's Linnea. She and I have talked quite a bit online. She has a podcast called Crafting Trooper. And she does a lot of different crafts as well. She lives over in the Pacific Northwest, I believe. And so when I was earlier this year, when we were talking about cross stitching, she said, I have this table topper. And I believe her mother started it. I don't remember. And she said, I want to finish it and I want you to have it. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to have this? And she's like, yes. And she sent this thing to me. And y'all, I was just so touched by the beautiful work that she had done on this. Look at that. Is that not amazing? Look at those beautiful roosters, how colorful they are. I mean, that just blew my mind that she thought enough of me to send me this. So, Linnea, thank you. She sent me this beautiful card with a horse on it. I am very touched by the friends that I have made through this podcast, and I just want to say thank y'all very much for all the kindness that you continually show me. I am just so grateful for all of you, and I never feel like I can ever repay all the kindness that I've been shown, but this is the most beautiful thing So that's going to go somewhere special in the guest room where no Baxter Paws, who's laying up there on the doom pile, and Willie Paws or anything will get on it, because that is much too precious for that. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to show everybody that beautiful table topper. I'll put that right back in its package here so nothing terrible happens to it. Okay. Then, you know, Charlotte from April 9 Designs, just, I think she makes awesome bags. I love her bags, and I can't get enough of them. Because, anyway, she had this really cute dog's bag, and it was on clearance sale. I don't know if it was clearance sale, but it was on sale. She had a big sale. And so I got the dog's bag. And then she posted this one on Instagram going, oh, there's only one of these. You better jump on it. So I jumped first and got this adorable holiday creatures bag here. I think her bags are such good value for money. They are so well made. They're just beautiful. They're sturdy. I just love them. So, anyway, that's my Christmas gift, or not really. That's just, I wanted them, so I got them. Anyway, I had to order a bag for my project bag swap partner, and if I was going to, you know, save on shipping, right? Yeah. Anyway, okay, so this is not all acquisitions in this basket. I just had them stuck in the top of it. I added to my Shave 'em to Save 'em pile by ordering from Havencroft Farms, which is actually located in Mountain View, Arkansas. They have American Jacob sheep, and this is the natural colors of the Jacob sheep wool, hand spun. I'm going to do a fleece flight, and I'm going to use this in my fleece flight. I've got some gray Lincoln, and then I've got a red Shetland that someone gave me as a gift. It's not a Shave 'em to Save 'em yarn, but it's a woolly rustic yarn. I'm going to use that, and the red, the gray, and then I need to figure out what else I want to do, what other colors I want to put in there. But I want to do a fleece flight by Maria from Ninja Chickens. Is that not beautiful? I mean, that's almost just art just by itself. Then I decided I wanted another skein of Undead Yarns. Heidi from Undead Yarns, she did this colorway called Chumley, which is in honor of her little doggy, and it donates to an animal shelter. And so I thought, well, I want to donate again to that cause. So now I have 2 skeins of this and have enough to make a particular shawl that I've had my eye on. So I got that. Then Expressions Fiber Arts got me with their, like I said, I normally don't open those emails from different places because this is what happens. This is her animal yarn for the month of October. This is called Insight, and it's based on the colors in the photograph of a fox. And I'm a sucker for foxes. And you also got the free little stitch marker, progress keeper type things. This is a tweed sport weight yarn, and I have a cowl pattern picked out for it. And a portion of all this yarn donates to the World Wildlife Fund. Then she does a monthly yarn club, and you don't have to pay for a whole year. You just buy the yarn each month. She puts up an inspiration picture, and then where did my glasses go, by the way? Inquiring minds. Oh, there they are. Alright, so she does a monthly yarn club, and this month's yarn club the theme was bravery, and it says, so bravery, Expressions Fiber Arts. It says, don't be afraid of your fears. They're not there to scare you. They're there to let you know that something is worth it. I like that. Fear is just another thing in the universe. We needn't fear our fears. They are only trying to keep us safe. We can thank our fear for its concern and then continue to take steps towards our dreams and goals regardless. Irrational fear does not show us what not to do and where not to go. In fact, it is often the arrow pointing to where our greatest treasure awaits. I love that. Okay, so this month's club was, of course, Halloween-y themed, and it had a really cute little pin, which I've already hung up, of a little sheep looking up at the full moon. But then the colorway was Haunted House. And this is on her Sparkle DK. It's 60% merino, 26% nylon, 10% baby alpaca, and 4% metallic. Isn't that pretty? I'm going to make a shawl, or not a shawl, I'm going to make another cowl. I'm in a cowl making mood, I guess, so I'm going to make a cowl out of this too. I like cowls because they're very versatile. But anyway, so that is pretty much, oh no, I have one more acquisition, but it's not fibery related. I was on the Kickstarter of the Wise Dog Tarot, and I love the artwork on this because it's beautiful pictures of dogs, a lot of whom she knows, or dogs that are rescue dogs. And I joined the Kickstarter, so I received, actually today, my deck from the Wise Dog Tarot, and you can find her on Instagram as the Crow Tarot, and she has a cat one and crows and different things, but this was her this year's Kickstarter, and she has a really cool journal that goes with it that I may end up getting as well. So anyway, so there it is. Isn't that beautiful? My nails are terrible, and we'll get to why in a little bit. Anyway, so her name is MJ Kuliani. Where's her name? That'll focus. So the Wise Dog Tarot. Isn't that beautiful? But anyway, so those are my acquisitions for this week. And so now we're going to move on and talk about science. Okay, well, I'll just start out with what's been going on just very recently. I have scary Halloween hands. These are actually much better, and I've got a name written on there that I've got to write a recommendation letter for. I contracted hand, foot, and mouth disease. I'm not sure exactly where I got it, but last week, we had fall break 2 weeks ago, and then last week I was just exhausted. I could not get enough sleep, no matter how much I went to bed, if I went to bed early. And then Friday, I just felt off, just not right, you know, kind of fuzzy headed and everything. And I got home and I put hay out for my cattle, and it was raining. I put hay out for my cattle, and then by the time I got in the house, I was shaking so hard my teeth were chattering. I just could not get warm. It did not matter. So I'm pretty sure I was running a fever. So I woke up Saturday morning to go to an estate sale with Miss Betsy, and I felt better. My fever had broken. I wasn't running a fever because I checked, because there was no way I was going to go with her if I still had a fever, because I did not want to expose her to something that she could then take to the grandbaby that is having to have the treatments done. She's on her 4th week. This is her 4th week of treatments. And then they're going to evaluate at 6 weeks and see what they're going to do next. So, you know, felt fine Saturday. Went to the estate sale. We had breakfast afterwards. You know, the estate sale opened at like 8, and we went and looked, and then we went and ate breakfast, and went to Marva, to the thrift store, and putzed around. And then I said, well, I probably need to get home, because I'd gotten a battery for the generator. I don't want to go into all this because we'll be talking about it in the farm. But anyway, so Saturday evening, I started getting a sore place on my hand right here. And I thought, oh, I've got a sticker, which is not beyond the realm of possibility. Okay. Got a sticker in my hand from the hay or something. So I'm messing around with it. And I'm like, you know, getting the needle in there. And I'm like, well, there's nothing in there. Well, about 3 or 4 hours later, I started getting another spot, and I thought, did I get into something? Did I get into a bunch of stick? I don't remember. I would have remembered that. I was wearing gloves. Anyway, what's going on? And, you know, over the course of the evening, I'm sitting there going, did I grab poison ivy? And I'm not allergic to poison ivy. I can pull it up barehanded, and it doesn't bother me. And I'm thinking, okay, did I get battery acid on me, changing that battery? Surely not. I don't think I did, because I was very careful. And I'm like, okay, something weird. Anyway, I'm going to bed. Well, in the middle of the night on Saturday, my feet start burning in between my big toes and my first toes they're just burning. I'm like, did I step in something? What is going on here? So I get up and I like wash my feet and I spray them with, you know, Vetricin, which that's my answer for everything is Vetricin. And then I just could not, I tossed and I turned and my feet were hurting and my hands started burning. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? When I woke up Sunday morning, my feet and hands both felt like they were on fire and they were covered with spots. And I'm like, what the crud? And that's not what I said, but you know, that gives you an idea is going on. And I got to thinking, it's on my hands and it's on my feet. I feel fine otherwise. And so through power of deduction, I'm like, I've got hand, foot, and mouth. So I go look up the symptoms of it, and I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. And at first, I was embarrassed to say anything to anybody because I thought, oh, people are going to think I live in filth and all this stuff. And I got to reading about it, I'm like, that's not it at all. Let me just educate you a little bit on hand, foot, and mouth disease. Okay. So hand, foot, and mouth disease is a very, very common contagious virus. It's mostly common in young people. In fact, a lot of people I know that have told me they've had it have gotten it from like a kid, and I'm pretty sure that that's where this came from. You know, you get a kid that's got it and they're around a group of people, and even though they may not be symptomatic, they may be contagious. And it's caused by a Coxsackie virus, and it's fairly common. There is no treatment for it. You just have to tough it out. The way to prevent it is just to make sure you avoid contact with people who are infected if you know that they're infected, and wash your hands. So just like any other, you know, general virus. It is not foot and mouth or hoof and mouth disease that cattle or animals can get. This is not a disease you can get from an animal. It is not a disease you can transmit to an animal. Okay, it is not the same thing as foot and mouth disease that cattle or horses or pigs and things get. So the symptoms include fever and sore throat, which I did have, the feeling of malaise, which I had, painful red and blister-like lesions on the tongues, gums, and inside of the cheek. I did not have that, thank goodness. A red rash without itching, but sometimes blistering on the palms and soles and sometimes the behind. I had that on the palms and the soles, thankfully nowhere else. Now my feet got it the worst. I'm not going to lie. My feet have blisters on them still. I could not walk Monday. I tried to go to work, which is probably not smart. I stayed away from everybody. I told them, don't get close to me. You don't want you getting this. But I had a planetarium show that I had to do, and I couldn't have anybody cover for me. And I had a meeting that I needed to be at. So I went to work. And it is 0.2 of a mile from my office to the planetarium. And it was excruciating. I mean, I imagine your feet being like the worst case of athlete's foot or poison ivy or blistering between all your toes. And so you can't like curl your toes or anything. And then on your heels, you know, just miserable. I mean, it was miserable. My hands were also painful. They felt on Sunday and Monday, they felt painful and prickly and all of that. And then by Tuesday, that's all kind of gone away. They said, you know, once the spots show up, you actually starting on the back side of the being sick. Loss of appetite, that did not happen. I'll just tell y'all. Irritability, I was fairly irritable, which is why I didn't go around people. The incubation period is 3 to 6 days. Fever is usually the first sign, and then sore throat, and then the spots emerge. And once you see the spots, you're kind of on the back end of it. Most common cause is just the Coxsackie virus, A16. It's a non-polio enterovirus, and you know, oral ingestion or spread by, you know, somebody sneezing or coughing. If you maybe have a small child, you have to change their diaper, or if you touch the blisters and things. It very often is spread around in child care settings or daycare settings or anywhere where there's close contact, like football teams or whatever. It is very contagious, and so it's no fun. It is not, like I said, hand, foot, and mouth, or excuse me, it is not hoof and mouth like you have in animals, and this is not a zoonotic disease where they can get it from you or you can give it to them, or you can get it from them. You usually develop immunity to it as you get older. I never had it as a kid, so I guess I got to enjoy it. And here's the irony of all of this. I finally got up the nerve to post about having it. And I know that's just, I have these issues about the house and all of this, and I didn't want to say anything. I thought, oh, well, after reading, I'm like, well, it is what it is. I have heard of so many people this year, adults, who have had this. So I don't know if it's particularly virulent this year or what. Most common side effect or most common complication is dehydration. I did not have the sore throat or any. I mean, I had a little bit of a sore throat, but it went away fairly quickly. Didn't have the sores in my mouth or anything. I had no problem staying hydrated or eating, so that was good. It's a relatively mild disease with very few major complications. Although, as with anything, there can be rare forms of it that can be more problematic. So, anyway, there's my scary Halloween hands. They look much better than they did. Anyway, now, what's going on with the rest of the science world here, Let me pick up my papers here. Lots been going on at the university. We had homecoming, and I drove by one day in the marching band. We have a retirement village or retirement home on the corner of the university property, and the marching band was out there playing for the residents. I thought that was really sweet. We've been working on getting ready for Super Science Saturday, which is day after tomorrow. I'm a little anxious because I actually took Tuesday and Wednesday off this week. I went to work on Monday. I did not go in Tuesday or Wednesday. I have never in 21 years of working taken 2 days off for anything. I might take a day off here and there if I'm sick, or even when my parents died, I went in for at least part of a day. I never took a whole 2 days off. So this has been kind of weird feeling, but I felt like, what? Your body says you need to rest, so sleep when you feel like it, eat when you feel like it. I had to do my chores and take care of my animals and everything. Carol offered to bring me anything that I needed, but I was okay. I didn't really need anything. Yesterday I called the feed store, and Cassie had them sit feed out for me so that I wouldn't have to go in, because I didn't know if I was still contagious or not. But things are going good with the school. At school, I've got, like I said, we've got Super Science Saturday. It's been an interesting semester with talking with students and sort of mentoring them. I had one of my observations for my faculty excellence in diversity. I had to miss one of the classes. And I really wanted to see this when it was a panel of students of color talking about their experiences at UCA. I really wanted to hear that, and I was so upset with myself that I missed it. But I just didn't feel like I could be around people that closely. I also missed my book group for Big Magic this week too, which was a shame because I missed that a lot. I find that stuff very inspiring and very motivating. But there's always next time. We talked about Karen Silkwood. I had them watch a bio of Karen Silkwood because most of my students had never heard of her. Karen Silkwood was a lady who worked for Kerr-McGee Company in Crescent, Oklahoma, in a plant where they made plutonium fuel rods, and she is a good example of a union activist and whistleblower, and the retaliation that she faced as being a whistleblower. And then also we watched the Poisoner's Handbook, part of it in a couple of my classes, about both thallium, where spectroscopy, which is what I do in my research, was used to vindicate a man, to show that he was innocent. And then also we talked about the Radium Girls, which I have mentioned on here, and that's going to be one of my topics for my science make-along, is the Radium Girls. So all that's been going on. Students are doing well. We're working on some research projects. I've got several students working for me on research right now, which is good. I've had some interesting visits with some students, being more than, being sort of a mentor to them in cases where they needed help. I've actually got to write a letter of recommendation for one, and get it sent in today. So I need to get that taken care of when I get off of here. But, that's kind of what's going on at the university right now. We are winding down. I think once we get into November, we've got 3 weeks of instruction, and then we come back from Thanksgiving week. And I'm only going to meet on Monday of Thanksgiving week because Vanessa and her family from A Historian Knits podcast are coming to see me that Tuesday. So we're only going to meet on Monday. And I never schedule labs on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving anyway, because I know my students are going to want to get out of town and see their families anyway, so I'm a realist. We come back and we've only got like 2 days, so I'm looking forward to the student projects are coming up, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do for those, and those are always a good time, so I'll let you know if there's anything cool going on with those. But anyway, so that's pretty much all the science that I'll talk about this week, and we'll come back and finish up with talking about farm life. Okay, so farm life has been, good. I had fall break, and boy, I got a lot done over fall break, which is good because I got squat done this week. I did not get much of anything done this week other than going to that estate sale with Miss Betsy. I found some really cool pieces, but I'll wait and share them with you next time, because I found some more craft supplies, needlework craft supplies that I've squirreled away. But Miss Betsy and I went to that estate sale, and I was really worried that I had given her exposed her to this hand, foot, and mouth, but she's actually already had it because her grandkids had it. But anyway, so she is on her way back. She's supposed to be checking in with me, letting me know she's made it in safely. Fall break was very productive. Okay, so during fall break, we got the generator running. My friend Jason, Lisa's husband, my friend Lisa, who y'all have seen them both on my videos about the fair. He came up, we got the part ordered for the generator. It arrived, he installed it. Generator runs like a charm. Had to put a new battery on it because the battery was 6 years old, and it has to have a battery to crank when the power goes out and the sensor tells the generator to start. It has to have that cranking amp to get it going. So it's all running. It ran its test cycle on Saturday. It was music to my ears. I was so excited. So we are set and ready for the generator. The tractor, Carol's husband Rick has a heavy equipment repair business, and he was kind enough to stop by and look at my tractors, both my tractors, to see what they would need to get them running, and he's ordered the parts to get them. It's actually relatively minor fixes to him because that's what he does all the time. So hopefully this winter I'll have both my tractors up and running. The plan is to put the bush hog on the big tractor and just leave it on there, and then have the hay forks on the littler tractor, and use it to put hay out. Putting one bale out at a time is a pain. It's very much easier to put 2 at a time out, so it'd be nice to have my back hay forks on again. But I don't unhook the bush hog because it's such a pain to unhook it and hook it back up. I did do a little bit of bush hogging. I got a new battery on my tractor, and Jason fixed the ends on it where my other friend Jason, who I buy hay from, had put new battery cable ends on it, but they had kind of worked loose. And so Jason, who had come to fix the generator, tightened them up. So now it fires right up, which is a blessing. I'm so glad. It's such a pain to go out there to try to start a tractor and it's dead. I ordered fruit trees. I ordered 2 more apple trees, a pear tree, plum, and a cherry tree. Now, cherries don't necessarily do very good down here, but I'm going to try this one. It's supposed to be more heat tolerant. And I also ordered some more raspberry bushes and some more blackberry canes. So those will be here. I believe they're supposed to ship on the November 11th or 15th. I think 11th. And those will be here, so I'll have to I've kind of got in mind what I'm going to do out there. I've started trying to move birds around a little bit. I'm going to have to go get some gravel because there's getting to be a pretty extensive mud hole, and it's not all Penny's doing. I think it's the way one of the other coops is draining the rain off the top of it is making a big mud hole, and I need to clean it up because it's going to make somebody sick. Because they like to look at each other through the fence, and this one turkey is just not very smart, and it stands over there, and it will stand there even when it's freezing cold in that mud. And I'm like, no, we need to fix that. So I'm going to have to fix that up. I tended to the bees. I treated them for varroa mite, and I filled up the traps for the hive beetles, and they both hives that I have remaining have honey stores, so they should have plenty of nutrition for the winter. So that was a good thing. So that was encouraging. I got the storage building straightened up. It is all straightened up. Everything's organized. I got trash out of there, and now I can start organizing the garage a little bit more. I started just a little bit on it. I talked to my neighbor that his son the son that helps me with the cattle, and he's going to come make sure I can get my gator started and my push weed eater started, and so that means I can move them out of the way and get the garage, the rest of it straightened up, so that I can then have an easier time bringing Christmas trees in to get Christmas decorations done. Then on Saturday of fall break, a bunch of people from the writing program were kind enough to come out, and we started painting and staining the barn. My horse barn is supposed to be stained every 7 years, so it's time. The trim needed to be repainted. I do have some rotten wood that I'm going to have to replace, so probably over Christmas break I'll go get some wood and replace these boards. It'll be, I don't know how easy it'll be to replace them. I think if I can jack those other ones up, because it's tongue and groove and it's like in this slotted frame, so I don't want to have to take all of the wood out to replace, because it's the bottom boards all the way across on the north side that need to be replaced. But we did get it not quite halfway stained on the outside and the trim done. Then I've got to do the inside trim as well. But they're supposed to come back this Sunday and help me work on it some more, so we'll get that. It looks really, I'm really tickled with how it looks though. And then that was pretty much everything that I got done over fall break. That's a lot though. I was pretty pleased to have gotten all of that done. Got a lot of organization done outside, which was good. Kind of planned out what I want to do for next year. Got, you know, things kind of organized and running, fixing. You know, I call this place Broke Down Acres sometimes because it seems like it doesn't rain but what it pours, because my refrigerator is dead. That was the other thing. I cleaned the refrigerator out because it has died. It was over 20 years old, and I knew it was on its way out, and I would kind of, there was one place where I could kind of bump it and it would kick on. But that finally quit, so I just haven't had a time this week to go up, and I haven't felt like going up to look for a new refrigerator, but I will do that. Probably Saturday or Sunday, go up to the local hardware place and see what they've got. I need to measure, because I'm landlocked with that refrigerator, about where it can be. I can only take a small one, so I need to get in there and figure out what I need, because it is very unhandy not having a refrigerator. I can, you know, the ice and stuff like that, but I like to cook a lot and then eat leftovers for several days, and I can't do that right now because I don't have anywhere to store them. So it's very frustrating, but hopefully I can find what I'm looking for and get a refrigerator bought and delivered and get the old one carted off, because there's a nice little biology experiment going on in it right now, I'm sure. Oh gosh. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at on the farm. You know, winter is definitely on its way. We've had our first sub-freezing temperatures last night, and we're due to be even colder tonight. We're under a freeze warning. So I brought in all the things that needed to be brought in, and I harvested the last of the peppers. I did order some witch hazels. A friend of mine got me 2, but they're the fall blooming variety, so I just got in the mail the 2 spring blooming varieties. I don't want to plant them outside right now because it's too cold. So I'm debating on whether to plant them in pots where I can move them around and bring them in, or to wait until it warms up a little bit and plant them. But I'll have to look at our weather. I know we've got sub-freezing temperatures for the next 3 or 4 nights, and then it's going to warm back up. So if I can get like a 2-week period where the temperatures at night are not below freezing, I may go ahead and plant them outside. But they are the spring blooming, which are indigenous to the Ozarks. I talked about that on an earlier podcast. So we got all that done. We had a great Halloween show at the barn with all the different activities, and I've got some cute pictures that I'll share of the different costumes and stuff. And we had some great rides. The kids rode great in the great race, and it's a lot of fun to watch them. I don't compete against the kids, but we did have dressage lessons, and Flame and I was so proud of how she did. We got some great photographs and some great video of me and Flame working, and I'm so proud of how we're coming along. I haven't been able to ride in the last 10 days or week. I guess it's been a week since I rode because I was sick. And they're going to ride tomorrow, but I don't want to go over there and just risk me still being infectious. Plus, I'll be getting ready for Super Science Saturday tomorrow anyway, so I'm going to call it good until we get done with Super Science Saturday. Zoe's birthday, though, is Saturday, so I will be going over to the barn birthday party after that. So yeah, so those are kind of all the different things that are going on here on the farm. I got my book out where I record what trees I've got planted so that when my new trees come in, I can look at it. And here's the funny thing, I was looking at this, I forgot that the tree that's not doing very good out there is actually a Honeycrisp. And I got to reading about Honeycrisps when I first purchased this, when it said it was okay in this zone, but I guess as they're noticing, it doesn't like the heat down here. So that plant may never be productive. But the other ones are, I've got a Golden Delicious, which I planted for canning, then my Arkansas Blacks, Granny Smiths, and then Cinnamon Spice Apples, which is an old style. And then I think I ordered, I can't remember the 2 that I ordered, but I ordered a couple of older varieties. And then I ordered a pair that will cross-pollinate my Moonglow pear. And I don't remember the names of all of them. When I get here, I'll let y'all know. So, but anyway, so that's kind of where we're at here on the farm, and I've kind of rambled a little bit, but we're going to move on now to our final thoughts. Okay, so I was looking for something appropriate to read for the time of year, and I've just been doing a lot of thinking about ancestors, and this is the time of year where very many different traditions honor your beloved departed, your beloved dead, and they, as they say, that which remembered lives is remembered lives. And I found this reading, and it's fairly it just really touched me. It's kind of unusual, so I hope you enjoy it. It is from a author. Let me read you the author's name here. It's from an author. Let me find it. Scroll. Joanna Powell Colbert, from her essay "The Halloween Woman on the Threshold," and it was written in 2013. And I just wanted to share this with you today. Seemed appropriate to the day. There comes a time in every woman's life when she embarks on an underworld journey. Indeed, she will visit the underworld more than once during the course of her lifetime. This journey may be precipitated by the loss of someone she loves, or by a life-threatening illness, or a grave disappointment in a career or craft. When it happens, she feels that all is lost. She is separated from everything she holds dear. She is in shock. She despairs. She grieves. She descends into the realm of the Old One, the crone, the Kaliach, the grandmother, Baba Yaga. Oh, I lost my place. Lady Death, Hecate, Ereshkigal, La Santa de Muerte. The Old One has 1,000 names. Our Hallowmass woman may find herself in a darkened wood on a night when no moon lights the sky, not even a thin crescent. She sits cross-legged in the dirt at a place where 3 roads meet, a basket of offerings at her side. She shivers as she hears the mournful howl of a black dog, its red eyes glaring at her out of the thicket. She watches the silver thin filament of spiderweb twist and turn in the starlight. She feels the rush of cold, quick air as a hoot owl flies overhead, flapping its enormous wings. She waits. She sits silently at the crossroads, knowing that the comfortable, familiar terrain of her life has crumbled away and is no more. But it is not yet clear where she will go next, or what shape her days might take. She waits for the counsel of the Old One. And while she waits, she reflects. She begins to dream. She sorts through her emotions. Yes, I want that. No, I don't want that. This is the life I want, not that. She begins to have glimmers of ideas, a dream barely caught upon waking. What was that? An image, a scent, a feeling. It is shapeless, taking form, then shapeless again. Even though she is heartbroken, she begins to find comfort in this liminal space between here and there, past and future, now and then. She is poised on the threshold between her ancestors and her descendants, the dark moon and the new. She begins to sense that she is broken open, and her heart expands, light streaming out through the cracks. The veils between this world and the next are thin indeed. We see the Hallowmass woman in the stark November landscape with its muted tones of olive, ochre, sienna brown. We find her in a cold statue in a graveyard, garlanded with dead roses, thorns, and blood-red rose hips. We see her in fog-bound mornings where there is no distinction between sea, stones, and sky, and the other world is just a step away. She lives within the brief days and long nights that draw us toward withdrawal and cocooning. The Hallowmass woman rests. She withdraws into herself. It is not a time of connection. She prefers her own company, turning down invitations to gather with others. The midwinter holidays will be here soon enough. Perhaps, if she should be so lucky, a woman will live long enough in human years to embody the Old One, literally. At 70 or 80, she has walked the great round of life, death, and renewal more than once. She knows how the story ends. Age does not automatically confer wisdom. There's no fool like an old fool. But by 70 years old, our Hallowmass woman has learned a thing or two about her soul's purpose. She is well aware of the legacy that she will leave behind when she crosses the threshold. Her body may be ravaged by disease and aging. Then again, she may be as flexible and strong as her 90-year-old neighbor who practices yoga and walks a mile or two every day. Keeping the physical body supple and healthy has never been as important as it is now, with a whole underworld to explore. The Hallowmass woman has not had her moon flow in many years, and to be honest, she doesn't really miss it. She's content to be on the other side of the hormonal veil and to leave the cycle of fertility and release to younger women. When the time of All Hallows comes to a woman's soul, she begins to make peace with Lady Death and with the endings of all kinds. She knows, as the fates do, that all things must pass. She knows herself as Atropos, she who cuts the thread of life, as the Queen of Swords who slices away negativity and confusion, and doubt as the blue dakini who severs ties. She makes choices. This she will keep. This she will let go. She begins to live as if Lady Death is peeking over her shoulder. Life is stripped down to its essentials. What is really important? In the end, what really matters. She sorts through her possessions left by her parents and grandparents. After purging and giveaways and purging agains, what remains are photographs or wedding rings or a Welsh Bible, a fraying crazy quilt, a fishing hat, a cherished wooden chair. When we suspect our time might be short, our priorities become quite simple. Finish that painting, that poem, that song. Forgive him and her and that one too. Spend time with the ones we love and visit the edge of the salt water and stones every day. While we're there, be sure to pick up beach glass, then give it away. Sing to the Blessed Mother, light a candle, and breathe a prayer for the wild and holy earth, for the benefit of all beings. Be present to the beauty that surrounds us, for every day is a gift of grace. The Hallowmass woman has been sitting long enough at the crossroads. The ancient one emerges from the thicket of thorns, the black hound at her side, a green snake wrapped around her arm. She offers the woman a sliced open pomegranate, its ruby seeds spilling out. With her inner ear, the woman hears the ritual words, "Take, eat the fruit of death, which is life." She swallows 9 pomegranate seeds, savoring the tart, bittersweet flavor on her tongue. The crone points a bony finger towards one of the 3 paths, and the Hallowmass woman moves on. She casts one last look over her shoulder as she leaves the underworld and turns to search for the first glimpse of the new moon. On our deathbeds, when we've run out our time, and no more books will be written, and no more songs will be sung, and no more canvases will be painted, when that time comes and we are poised to cross to the threshold of the great unknown, all that matters is love. The fierce love we've had for the sacred earth, for our friends and our family and our lovers, and the love that flowed back to us in return. Our overflowing hearts have been cracked open, mended, and broken open again. All that matters is love. So on that note, I will wish all of you a happy Halloween or a blessed Samhain. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It's a little different reading there, I know, but it seemed appropriate for the day. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And until I see y'all again, y'all be good to each other and take care of each other. And what, Willie? Peace out, y'all. Happy Halloween. Woo. Bye. Hi, Charlie. You got some wild hair. I need to brush that out. Hi, guys. I mowed for you. Yeah. Oh. Hello. Yeah, I mowed for you.